People often ask me, over my 20 years of owning, investing, and scaling businesses, what is the number one sales thing that you could teach us? And that is to understand the psychology of sales. So today, watch to the end because I'm not going to talk about lots of tips. I'm just going to give you the one tip in psychology that you really need to grasp in order to increase your sales and increase your own personal income. So let's get straight to it then. The psychology of sales. Why am I here to talk to you about psychology of sales in the first place? So yeah, anybody that follows the channel already will understand that I invest in businesses. I own multiple businesses and I've helped scale hundreds of businesses in the past as well. And I've also got a doctorate in organizational psychology. Well, what the heck is that? Okay, well, it's understanding the influence and the persuasion of what it takes in leadership, sales, marketing, the psychology of what it takes to scale businesses. Because if you underpin everything, everything is psychology. The way you do stuff, the behavior, the way you think, because the way those behaviors are driven by your thinking and your emotions is all psychology. Now, if you could be at a higher state more often of understanding psychology, and by state, I mean feeling good more often, how much more sales do you think you would actually get? So let's get straight into it then. Why the psychology of sales? As I mentioned, you being at the best version that you can be. And that sounds a little bit blasé, doesn't it? But what I'm saying here is that when you're feeling better about yourself, more greater things happen as well. More greater things. That's double positive. Greater things happen, including better sales results. How many great salespeople have you actually met that are down and low and depressive and feel like, you just don't want to be around them? They've got this energy that just pulls you down. Okay. Well, it's contagious. Energy is contagious. So, one of the biggest things that you can do as a salesperson is to manage your energy. Whether you feel bad or not, you've got to really understand that you've got to be at your best all the time. So, managing that, how do you manage it? Well, you need to start thinking about what sort of things are getting you down more often and how do you build resilience against things getting you down more often. So, what are you going to do about it? How can you start to become more energetic, more energized, more positively energized? Because that positive energy, when it's transferred through to your customer, to any prospect, they will get that energy. Remember, communication isn't just the words you use; it's the energy that you give off, the body language, well, just keep it short and simple. The energy that you're giving off. It's that simple. What energy are you giving off during your sales negotiations, your sales interactions, whether that be on the phone, whether it be face to face, whether that be text message or email, if some of the sales people that are into that, it all starts from you being a positive, energized person. Okay. So controlling your state, being in that positive state more often will get you more sales. Now you understand that your energy is going to get you more sales. You need to think about how do you energize others. Remember, for someone to actually sign on that dotted line or press click here to buy, they must be in a position in their world. And what I mean by in their world is it's not just your world, it's their world. What is happening in their life? What is going on for them that they need to be in a position to click yes or write yes, sign here, yeah, to an agreement. Now, for that to happen, they're not going to do it when they're feeling bad, yeah. They're not going to do it when they're feeling at their worst. So your positive energy must come off and it must be contagious to them. Okay. You are in control of the sale and the sales energy. It's your job to make sure that you're not just saying the right stuff, but the psychology within you is giving off a positive energy towards them. And I don't mean positive energy as in like let's just cross our legs and meditate and then pretend that if we just say everything is okay, it'll be okay. No, that's BS. It's not going to work. Your positive energy comes from your optimism, your level of resilience. How goal orientated are you? How hopeful are you to achieving those goals? Okay. So you must remember all this stuff is what's going to keep you in a positive state. And that positive state will then be contagious to your customer as well. When they're in a positive state, just remember this: people don't sign checks when they are feeling rubbish. Yeah, I was going to swear them. I'm trying to keep this podcast, this YouTube channel clean. So What do you need to do? Are you turning up to any sales call? Is it from the initial start of just meeting a prospect or making an intro call? Or is it the actual closing of the sale? Any level, any step of that journey, of your customer journey, needs to be met with you being the best version of you. Okay. So, what are you going to do to get more positive influence? Where does it come from? Well, your positive influence comes from your environment. Look at your environment. Go through your day. Mark down every 24 hours of the day. Was you feeling positive at the end of that hour? Was you feeling negative? What happened in that hour to make you feel positive or negative? Well, guess what? Stop hanging around the people or things that are making a negative influence on you. And if that means changing your job, then you've got to look at your environment as well of something that supports you so you feel more positive more often. Now, there's an element to this as well that you also need to think, am I just lowering my resilience? So you also have to be resilient and remember that no matter where you are, there you are. So if you're not a resilient person, if you're not an optimistic person, if you don't have self-confidence and you let confidence beat you up all the time, then guess what? You will always be in that negative state. So there's 4 areas that you really need to work on: resilience, optimism, your confidence levels, and your goals as well. Yeah. How on track are you towards those goals? Because as you are progressing towards goals step by step, the actual science to this shows that people that make further steps each day, just some progression, are the people that are more happier. And if you're more happier, you're more positive as well. So really have a think about it. What is a negative environment for you? What is a positive environment for you? How do you reinforce the way that you work and how you become more positive more often? Because that will impact your psychology and the customer's psychology as well. So the second part of today, I did say there was only one big tip, but I'm going to give you an extra bonus as well. Thank you for listening to the podcast so far. A quick reminder that the A Players podcast and community remains free. The reason we do this podcast is because I believe that a great question to ask is, what advice would you give your younger self? For me, I wish I had a guide that showed me the exact steps to reach 100k a year in any job and how much my life would be accelerated if I'd cut through that noise and just focused on those steps. We do not run ads or endorse sponsors because it is our mission to give back and share with you, the listener, knowledge gained from working with highly successful individuals and extensive research in management science so that everyone has access to tools that can accelerate their income and give them the opportunity to step into wealth. In line with allowing us to achieve that mission, we ask that you think about, how did you end up on this podcast today? Maybe it was through finding it on YouTube or Spotify or word of mouth. So please help feed forward by subscribing to the podcast and also share this podcast with another leader like you that you feel this podcast could really help out in helping them increase their personal income too. Let's get back to the show. And also remember, if you want more tips like this, then you can subscribe to the channel and there'll be a whole list of different videos. I've spoken videos before about emotional intelligence, for example, which is key to the psychology of sales. Now, another element of psychology of sales is that how many salespeople do you actually see that talk about them and how great they are? Yeah. Well, who cares? If you're a buyer, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Who actually cares how great that salesperson is? Well, all they want to do is knowing that that salesperson actually solves their problem or challenge. So the reason that people actually buy something in the first place, and remember, for people to buy something, they have to use a currency. Now, that currency is just a outcome of the time and hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that they've put into actually making that currency in the first place. People don't have money to spend without earning it in the first place. So you're not actually extracting financials and money from somebody. What you're actually extracting is their blood, sweat, and tears of what it's took to actually make that money. So does your solution, your product or service, actually help them get more to where they want to be? That is the thing that we need to be thinking about. Now, you can't get that person to open up and tell you if you're the person that is making it all about you and you're telling them statements all the time. So the way that you do this is through questioning. And we've got a video that you should check out on asking great questions in sales as well. Asking great questions will allow you to understand their version of the world. Yeah. What is the reality for them? Because everybody is different. No human is generic. So if you're the one who's just talking, all you're doing is explaining your model of the world. If they're talking, they're explaining their model of the world and they're giving you the tips of what you need to be saying next to show them that your product or service is the bridge of how they get from one place to another, their outcomes. Again, we do videos on outcomes as well. So make sure you check that channel out, those videos out. So, how could you take somebody along a journey where you can help them to professionally make a buying decision, not closing? You're not closing somebody, you're helping someone make a purchasing decision. Remember, it's their blood, sweat, and tears that they need to part with. So why should someone use their financials to pay you if you can't help them solve that problem? Now, the only way that you're going to get these answers from them is by allowing them to open up. And people call this about rapport. Yeah, you got to build rapport with the client. You got to do this. It's BS, right? What you're actually doing is you're coming up with an emotional agreement, yeah, a social exchange. Yeah, there's a theory on this, social exchange theory, which is a scientific term. And theory, by the way, doesn't mean it's just guesswork. That's what dumbasses say that don't understand the idea of a theory. The theory of gravity is pretty proven. Okay, so there's always a reason why gravity could be unproven as well. So a theory is just an academic term to say that this is the hypothesis that we're saying is in place here. Again, we're going off track. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to get you more sales. So the social exchange theory says that there's got to be an exchange of something for something. Okay. And now that exchange tends to be something that they value as well. Now, you could give away hugs, for example, and friendship, but when it comes to paying the bills and your mortgage is due, then guess what? The bank is not going to accept hugs. So you need to earn some income from it as well, which means that when you go and work with your customers, this exchange needs to be financial. Okay. So let's add all this together then. What is actually happening here? I've given you some psychology tips of what needs to happen for you to actually get the sale over the line when it comes to high ticket items, especially. Now, if you're going to get these high ticket items over the line, how are you going to do that if you're not a positive person? If every time the customer meets you, you've got this negative attitude towards life, yeah? Well, you really need to figure out, how do you start to be more positive more often? And not only from a contagious perspective of your positive energy rubbing off onto another customer. Your positive energy will compound. It will grow. It will snowball. Yeah. As you start to see more results from your positive energy, you will get even more positive energy and you will become a titan in what you do. There's no stopping you. Okay. So it's really important that you don't let the negative energy start to come from within you. Okay. The second part is this, when we mentioned about this exchange of goods, bridging that gap from getting the customer from one place to another. How are you going to do that if you can't ask great questions where you have a lot of trust involved? They're not going to open up or speak to you at all. Now, you see how this can start to show different elements that you, as a sales titan, really need to get better at. And that's why we have this channel. So you can start to learn all the different tools and equip yourself with the psychology tools and the strategies so you can grow as a sales titan or an entrepreneur, whatever it is you do. But ultimately, we're talking about scaling your revenue so you can receive more income. If this is what you're into, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and check out the other videos. Be great.